Case Season 2, Episode 22, Whole-Half Diminished Scale, Part 2. Last episode, I introduced the Whole-Half Diminished Scale. And just to recap it, it follows the symmetrical pattern of whole step, half step, etc. And so on and so forth into infinity. And I mentioned how it's used over fully diminished chords. So, for example, if you had a C fully diminished chord, which has a double flatted seventh, it's a C with a little degree sign, like a little circle above it, and a seventh, that whole half diminished scale will fit perfectly. And then C, E flat, G flat, B double flat, which is A natural, right? That's the arpeggio of that. And that will fit beautifully. And I mentioned that just like the half-whole diminished scale, there are only 3 whole half scales. And just like the half-whole diminished scale, the whole half duplicates itself by moving in minor thirds. So, for example, let's take that C whole half diminished scale pattern and just repeat that pattern on E flat, up a minor third, right? E flat, up minor third from E flat is G flat, and up a minor third from G flat is A. That will be the same scale, just starting on different notes. In other words, starting C whole half pattern on E flat is the same scale, the same notes. Starting the C whole half pattern on G flat is the same scale, the same notes. And finally, the C whole half pattern on A is the same scale as C whole half, the same notes. And I don't mean to be so pedantic about it. I tend to over-explain things, but I want to because I don't know where listeners are at and bass players are at. But when I was first turned on to diminished scales, it was mind-blowing to me. And it took me a great deal of studying and playing and listening and asking questions to be able to break it down and distill it so I could give it to the players in my studio and combo to deal with. And so that obviously, first of all, that I could play it myself. But there's more. Just like half-whole diminished works over altered dominant chords, like an E7 with a flat 9, which is the 5 chord in a minor 2-5-1 progression. I can use the whole half diminished scale or the whole half diminished lick over an altered dominant chord also, along with that fully diminished. But I have to look at it differently. So let's just use, for example, that E7 flat 9 dominant chord. We're just going to use that one. Okay, I'm not going to be able to place E whole half diminished scale lick or the scale or the lick over that E7 flat 9 chord starting on the E. What I've got to do is find the third of that chord. In the case of the E7 flat 9, that is G sharp, and then play my whole half diminished scale starting on that G sharp, and that's going to fit it perfectly. And you'll notice how it plays out every other note of the G sharp whole half diminished scale. Now, G sharp, we've established that as the third of the E7 flat 9. So you take that G sharp whole half, and that's going to work beautifully over that E7 flat 9. There's a B in the third note of that scale. That's the 5th of E7 flat 9. There's a D in the 5th note of that scale. That's the 7th of the E7 flat 9. There's an F in the 7th note of the scale. That's that flat 9 of the E7 flat 9. And that minor third trick, it works here too. Let's use G sharp as our starting point. It's easy to remember. It's the third of the 7th chord. And jazz musicians and musicians in general and songwriters in general like thirds. So we've established that G sharp whole half will work over that E7 flat 9. But I can go up a minor third from G sharp, which is B. And that'll work the same way because it's the same notes. So I play B whole half diminished scale over that E7 flat 9. That's going to work beautifully. Minor third up from B is D. I played D whole half diminished scale over that E7 flat 9. That works beautifully. Minor third up from D is F, right? That flat 9 and that E7 flat 9. That works beautifully too. They're all the same scale. They're just starting on different pitches. Okay, now that's a lot of stuff, even though it's a short time. Now, check out the videos, because on those I'm going to be demonstrating over an E7 flat 9 being played on a piano, and then playing lines of whole half starting on G sharp and B and D and F. This is a really good way to get mileage out of the licks that you know. That's what we all do. And that's very nice tools for altered dominant chords. And we should all be working on our altered dominant chords. It's a very modern sound in jazz music. Next episode, I have another way of looking at this to get even more mileage out of the lines you already know for diminished scales. If you have questions, email me at phil@basscase.co. I'll talk to you soon.